I met him on a quiet evening after work. The sun was setting, the sky glowing red and gold, and I was waiting at the bus stop for a bus that never seemed to come. Then, a sleek black car slowed down beside me. The glass rolled down, and a man with a calm smile looked at me. His voice was deep but gentle when he asked, "Do you need a lift?" I hesitated, but something about his face and his voice felt safe. I was tired, so I nodded and stepped into his car. The car smelled of leather mixed with a strong but pleasant perfume. He wore a neatly ironed shirt, a fine wristwatch, and spoke with the ease of a man who was used to being respected. He asked for my name, and I told him shyly. Then he smiled and said his name was Daniel. The short ride ended at my street, but before I could step out, he reached into his pocket and handed me a bundle of money. I was shocked. "Why are you giving me this?" I asked. He only smiled and said, "Because you remind me of someone I once cared about. Use it well." I thought about refusing, but I was broke and needed the money. My rent was almost due, and my kitchen was empty. So, I took it, though my heart was full of questions. The next day, Daniel called me. I was surprised because I couldn't remember giving him my number, but he explained that he had copied it from a slip of paper where I once wrote it. He asked to see me again. At first, I said no, but Daniel had a way of speaking that calmed my spirit. Soon, I found myself agreeing. We began to meet more often. Sometimes he took me to restaurants far from home, other times to quiet hotels where nobody knew us. He always said he wanted privacy, and I accepted it. One evening, while we sat together, he looked at me and said softly, "Let me take care of you." That was the night he became my sugar daddy. My life changed after that. He gave me clothes, perfumes, jewelry, and money. Suddenly, I could pay my rent, buy food, and even help my younger brother in school. My friends teased me, saying, "Oh, you are enjoying oh. Your sugar daddy is rich and kind." I laughed with them, but deep inside, I always wondered who Daniel really was. He never spoke about his family or his work. He only said he was in a place where people respected him. When I tried to ask for more, he would smile and change the subject. At night, when he held me, I would ask, "Why me, Daniel? Why are you giving me all this?" And he would whisper, "Because you make me feel alive." I believed him. I didn't know then that Daniel was carrying a secret that would one day shake my world. Daniel became a part of my life so quickly that I sometimes forgot there was a time I didn't know him. He called me almost every day, and whenever we met, he spoiled me with gifts. I suddenly had new clothes hanging in my wardrobe, perfumes lined up on my table, and money tucked inside my purse. Bills that once kept me awake at night no longer worried me. For the first time in a long while, I could breathe easily, and it was all because of Daniel. He never took me to his house, and he never allowed me to visit him without notice. Instead, we met in hotels, in hidden restaurants, or sometimes in his car. When I asked why he was always so secretive, he would smile and say, "Some things are better kept private." At first, I thought maybe he was married, but he never mentioned a wife or children. I convinced myself that it was his way of protecting me from unnecessary drama. After all, what mattered most to me was the way he made me feel safe and cared for. My friends noticed the change in me. They teased me, saying I had joined the league of big girls. They laughed when they saw the new handbag he bought me, and they shook their heads when I paid for food without checking my wallet. "Your sugar daddy is doing well for you," one of them said, half jealous, half impressed. I smiled, pretending not to enjoy the attention, but deep inside, I was proud. I thought I had found the kind of man every woman secretly wished for, rich, generous, and affectionate. But even with all the sweetness, there were things about Daniel that made me wonder. He always kept his phone on silent when we were together, and sometimes he would step outside to answer a call in whispers. He never stayed with me overnight, no matter how much I begged. When it was late, he would sigh, kiss me on the forehead, and say, "I'll see you tomorrow." Then he would disappear into the night, leaving me in the hotel room alone. At first, I accepted it, but soon the questions began to grow in my mind. Who exactly was Daniel? Still, I pushed the thought aside. I told myself that I had no right to complain. He was giving me more than I had ever dreamed of. He was caring for me in ways no other man ever had. So, I silenced my doubts and enjoyed the sweet life Daniel gave me. I didn't know then that his secret life was slowly walking toward me, waiting for the day it would break my heart in ways I could never imagine. It didn't take me long to notice that Daniel had a strange rule: he never answered my calls on Sundays. No matter how many times I tried, the phone would either ring endlessly or go straight to voicemail. Sometimes he would text late at night, saying, "Sorry, I was busy all day." At first, I thought maybe he had a family gathering or business meetings. But when it became a regular pattern, I began to feel uneasy. I asked him one evening, "Daniel, why don't you ever pick my calls on Sundays?" He chuckled and brushed it off, saying, "That's my quiet day. No work, no stress, just me and my thoughts." His answer made little sense to me, but his calm voice and warm touch always found a way to silence my suspicions. He would kiss me on the forehead, and just like that, my doubts melted away. Yet the curiosity in me grew stronger. Why would a man so generous and open with money be so secretive about just one day of the week? My friends joked that maybe he was married and Sundays were for his family. I laughed with them, but when I went home, the thought would not leave my mind. Could Daniel really be hiding a wife and children somewhere? One Sunday, I decided to test him. I called again and again, and as expected, there was no answer. Hours later, I texted him, pretending to be upset. He replied at night, saying, "You know I don't take calls on Sundays. Don't worry, I'll make it up to you tomorrow." That night, he sent me money, more than usual, as if to erase my doubts. It worked for a while, but deep inside, something told me that this Sunday mystery was bigger than I thought. I didn't know that this small habit of his was the first clue to the bigger secret of his life. A secret that would soon crash into mine and leave me shaking with disbelief. One Saturday, Daniel told me he had a meeting and left in a hurry. He was so distracted that he forgot his small black bag on the bed. At first, I didn't want to touch it, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened the bag slowly, and inside, I saw neat clothes, books, and at the very bottom, something that froze my hands: a white collar. The kind that priests wear around their necks. My heart jumped into my throat. I closed the bag quickly and sat on the bed, staring at the wall. Questions flooded my head. Why would Daniel have a priest collar? Was it a costume? Was it something he borrowed? Or was Daniel a priest? I shook my head and laughed nervously. No, it can't be, I whispered to myself. Daniel was too sweet, too generous, too romantic to be a priest. When he returned that night, I watched him closely. He looked calm as always, kissed me, and asked if I had missed him. I wanted to confront him, to ask about the collar, but my lips refused to move. Instead, I forced a smile and pretended everything was normal. But my heart raced each time I remembered what I had seen in his bag. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word Daniel had ever said to me. I'm in a place where people respect me. Could it be the church? My chest tightened with fear and confusion. I promised myself that I would find out the truth. The next morning, I made up my mind. I would follow him and see where he went on Sundays. It was the only way to silence the storm inside me. On Sunday morning, I dressed simply and wore dark glasses. My hands shook as I followed Daniel's car from a distance. He drove straight to a large church at the center of the city. My heart began to pound. I parked far away, walked in quietly, and sat at the back where nobody would notice me. The church was filled with people singing and praying. I tried to calm my breathing as I scanned the altar. Then, my eyes widened. My sugar daddy, Daniel, walked onto the altar wearing a long white robe. Around his neck was the same white collar I had seen in his bag. He stood tall, raised his hands, and began to preach. I nearly screamed, but I covered my mouth. The man who held me close at night, who whispered sweet words in my ears, was standing before hundreds of people as their Reverend Father. The same lips that kissed me were speaking about holiness and righteousness. My legs trembled under the pew. Tears filled my eyes as I stared at him. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. Every word he spoke sounded like a knife piercing through me. I kept hearing his voice in my head, "Because you make me feel alive." How could he say that to me while standing here, claiming to serve God? Finally, I gathered the strength to leave. I walked out of the church quietly, but inside me, there was a storm. My sugar daddy was a Reverend Father. And I didn't know what to do with that truth. That night, Daniel called me as if nothing had happened. His voice was calm, warm, and filled with the same charm that always weakened me. But I couldn't hold it anymore. I asked him directly, "Daniel, are you a priest?" There was silence on the line. My heart raced. For a long time, he said nothing, and I thought maybe he had ended the call. Then, in a low, trembling voice, he said, "Please don't tell anyone." My chest tightened, and tears rolled down my face. All the sweet moments we had shared suddenly felt dirty, wrong, and sinful. The man I trusted, the man I thought cared for me, had been living a double life. He was not just hiding from his family. He was hiding from God and the church. I couldn't sleep that night. I turned from side to side, remembering every gift he gave me, every laugh we shared, and every kiss we exchanged. It all felt like a lie now. My heart broke into pieces, but my mind was torn apart by one question: should I expose him, or should I protect him? Daniel's secret had become my burden. And I didn't know if I had the strength to carry it. The next day, I told him I needed to see him. He came quickly, his face pale, his eyes heavy with worry. When we sat down, I looked straight into his eyes and said, "Why, Daniel? Why did you lie to me?" He held my hands and begged. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I am only human. I wanted to feel love, even for a little while. Please forgive me." His voice shook, and I could see the fear in his eyes. He was not the confident man I once knew. He was broken, desperate, and afraid of losing everything. I pulled my hands away and asked, "Do you know what you've done? You are a priest, yet you made me your lover. How do you live with yourself?" His shoulders dropped, and he sighed deeply. "Every day I wake up with guilt," he said softly. "But with you, I felt alive. Please, don't take that away from me." I stared at him, torn between anger and pity. Part of me wanted to scream and throw him out of my life forever. Another part of me wanted to believe that he truly loved me, even if it was wrong. The battle inside me was stronger than anything I had ever felt before. Finally, I stood up and said, "I can't do this anymore." But even as I walked away, his pleading voice followed me, "Please don't expose me." Daniel did not give up. He came to my house with tears in his eyes. He knelt on the floor and begged me not to reveal his secret. "If you tell anyone, my life is over. The church will destroy me. My family will abandon me. I will have nothing left," he said, his voice shaking. He promised me more money, more gifts, anything I wanted. He said he would take care of me forever if I just kept quiet. I looked at him and felt both disgust and pity. This was a man everyone respected, yet here he was on his knees, begging me to cover up his sin. Don't you fear God? I asked him. His eyes filled with tears, and he whispered, every day. But I am weak. And I don't know how to stop. His confession broke my heart even more. He was trapped in his own lies, and now he wanted to trap me with him. For days, I avoided him. He kept calling, sending messages, and even waiting outside my house. Each time, I felt torn apart. If I kept quiet, I was part of his sin. If I spoke out, his life would be ruined. I cried every night, unable to decide. It was a burden too heavy for me to carry. And I knew that soon, something had to give. One night, I sat on my bed with tears rolling down my face. My heart was heavy, my body weak, and my mind restless. I had to make a choice. Protect Daniel, or protect myself. If I stayed silent, I would live with guilt forever. If I exposed him, I would destroy him. I thought about the church members who looked up to him. I thought about the families who trusted him with their prayers. And I thought about myself, a young woman whose life had been changed by his lies. Could I carry this secret forever? The answer came like a whisper in the night. I couldn't. I couldn't keep this burden in my heart any longer. My soul needed peace, even if it meant breaking someone else's life apart. I had to let the truth out. The next morning, I wrote a letter. In it, I told the truth about Daniel, the Reverend Father who was also my sugar daddy. My hands shook as I wrote, but my heart felt lighter with each word. When I sealed the letter, I knew there was no turning back. By the time the sun rose fully, my decision was clear. I was ready to end the silence, no matter the cost. I walked into the church office that morning with the letter in my hand. My steps were slow, but my heart beat fast. I gave the letter to the secretary, who promised to pass it to the parish head. As I walked out, a strange peace filled me, though I knew a storm was coming. Hours later, Daniel called me, but I didn't answer. He called again and again, but I turned off my phone. I couldn't bear to hear his voice, not after what I had done. My secret was no longer mine. It was now in the hands of the church. Days passed, and I heard whispers in the community. People were talking about a scandal in the church. Some said the Reverend Father had disappeared. Others said he was removed quietly. I didn't know which was true, but I knew one thing: Daniel was gone from my life. Sometimes, I missed him. I missed his smile, his kindness, and the way he made me feel special. But then I remembered the collar, the altar, and the lies. I reminded myself that I did the right thing. I chose truth over silence. And that was how my sugar daddy, the man I thought was my savior, became the Reverend Father whose secret almost destroyed me. Life sometimes hides the biggest secrets in the sweetest packages. I thought I had found a man who cared for me, who wanted to give me the good life I had always dreamed of. But behind his smile was a truth so heavy that it crushed my heart. Daniel was not just a man, he was a Reverend Father living a double life. I learned that money and gifts can blind the eyes, but the truth always finds its way to the surface. No matter how much we try to bury it, secrets do not stay hidden forever. And when they come out, they can destroy everything we thought was real. My story is not just about a sugar daddy who turned out to be a priest. It is about choices, guilt, and the cost of silence. Sometimes protecting the truth hurts, but keeping it hidden hurts even more. I chose to speak, and even though it broke him, it set me free. So I ask you, if you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you have kept his secret, or would you have exposed him like I did? I never knew my sugar daddy was a Reverend Father until the day he is a shocking true-to-life story of love, secrets, and betrayal. A young woman thought she had found the man of her dreams, only to discover that he was hiding a past that would shake her faith and her heart. Watch till the end and share your thoughts in the comments. Would you have kept his secret, or exposed him like she did? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories every week.